This video demonstrates the use of for loops for counting. We have on the right a program that outputs the price of commuting every 5 miles for 100 miles. I'm going to go ahead and run that program so we can see what it looks like. So first it asks what is your cost per mile in cents, and that's from this line of code. What we're going to do is input our mile in cents. Let's say it's $1, so 100 cents. When I inputted the 100, that stored a value into cost per mile in cents, and then the program converted that cost per mile in cents into dollars by dividing cents by 100. And then the program produced quite a bit of output. 0 miles costing $0, 5 miles cost $5, and it loops through every 5 miles it outputs the cost in dollars. So what does that look like? That's from this while loop here. And the while loop has a variable miles that is initialized to 0, and the while loop continues while the miles is less than or equal to 100, and then inside the loop the program outputs the number of miles, the miles costs in dollars, and then it calculates the costs per mile in dollars times miles. So that's the total cost for the distance in miles, and then the variable miles is updated by adding 5 to the miles variable. So each loop, the variable miles increases by 5, and once the variable miles has reached over 100, then the while loop exits because the condition something greater than 100 is not less than or equal to 100, so that evaluates to false, exit the while loop, and then the program exits. We can do the same behavior using a for loop, and the for loop will make this a little bit easier to read. So let's first start by reproducing the output of miles. Here it's outputting miles from 0 to 100 with 5-step increments. So like 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, etc. to 100. So let's reproduce that output first. So we have a for loop, and we want to initialize the variable miles, which we're going to be using. We'll start it at 0, and then while miles is less than or equal to 100, which is exactly the same as this line of code, and we're just initializing miles equal to 0, which is the same as this initial line of code. Then we want to update miles with this line of code. So this is the increment line of code, and that's the third component of a for loop. Alright, now let's simply just output the miles variable. We'll see how that variable works, what that looks like. Let's compile, execute, we'll say 100 cents. So the variable output is 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Oh, that's great. All the way down to 100. So we successfully reproduced this while loop, the counting going on of the variable miles inside of the for loop. Now what do we have to transfer over from the while loop in order to get the cost of the miles to be outputted? It's these two statements here. These are the ones that are outputting. So I'm going to copy those and paste. Now let's save, compile, and see what happens. What is your cost per mile? We'll say 100 cents. So 0 miles costs $0, 100 miles costs $100. That's awesome. Now why, if I have these two loops, which count from 0 to 100, why am I not getting two sets of output? I'm only getting one set of output. And it seems to be coming from this for loop. So why isn't this while loop outputting? Well, let's see. What is the value of miles after the for loop? So we'll just output value of miles here, and then we'll compile, run the program, say 100. Okay, so that's the output we were expecting, and this is the new output, 105. It's the value of miles. So with the while loop, the miles is not initialized to 0 like it was for the for loop. And so that's the reason this while loop never enters, is because miles is already 105, which is not less than or equal to 100, so the expression evaluates to false, and the while loop is never entered. So we can just delete that code, the while loop, and checking what miles value is. Save, and we'll do one last test to make sure everything looks good. 0 miles costs 0, 50 miles costs 50. What about if we use a different number just to make sure? If it were 50 cents, Then 0 miles cost 0, 5 is 250, 50 is $25, 100 miles $50. Looks good. Thank you.